in here and I will tag you on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, this should be interesting. So you're from the Midwest, right?
Yes, sir. Good old Bible Belt.
It's a big Bible belt. I'm from Texas, North
Hmm.
Texas. It was huge in North Texas where I grew up. Let's
Yeah,
see
that's
here.
true.
Okay, Brittany. All right. Boom. The Uncensored Medium. Let's see here. They won't let me do it. Huh. Maybe I can just do it to your personal page, huh? Well, oh, there it is. Okay, I got you. All right, boom. We're
Did
on.
it did it let you do the professional one?
No, didn't. But I did
Oh,
it. I tagged your personal page.
okay.
So we could share it. You could share it from, you go to my page, you can share it to your professional page.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me,
Let me
you want me to see
check,
if I can do that?
let me just check real quick with YouTube and X. I just want to make sure they're on so I don't have to. Okay, here we go. All right, there she is. Okay.
Hello.
Brittany Bulkwalter, the
But
uncensored
yeah.
Buckwalter, the uncensored medium.
Yep.
Okay, this should be interesting. What came first, the mediumship or the comedianship?
Oh my goodness. I think that they just came in together, really, because
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, I grew up with a really, women in my family are hilarious. Every time we get together, we just laugh and laugh. We're always doing or saying something outlandish or ridiculous or something. And a lot of times they say when you cope with issues or whatever it might be through humor. Whether that's true or not, we definitely laugh a lot. So we're just naturally funny, but I really think there's a beauty in adding humor to bringing spirit forward. It's such a serious, intimate connection, and so I think that the comedy that just kind of comes out naturally. I mean, it is none of it is staged, none of it is thought up, thought about. It just happens.
So how did it happen for you? Did a lot of people that have come on the show over the years, most of them actually, I was born with it. I was told as a child my imaginary friends weren't real, or maybe they made it through without getting it suppressed, and then they became adults and tried to fit in, which we figured out we couldn't fit in. It never was going to work. Some
Mhm.
people had traumas that kind of came along with their awakening, I guess you would say. A lot of them had gifts come in when the downloads came in. It sounds like that's what happened with you. How old
Mhm.
were you, or have you always been this weird? Were you always this weird the whole time?
Yeah, I think the first connection with spirit that I can remember was at age 4. And the way that it had just come about was unbelievable because my mother and my aunt had experienced this connection with spirit, and then I was able to tell them exactly what I was seeing, and I was experiencing the exact same thing. And so, I think that was a real turning point. That was a moment that we all still to this day talk about. I wasn't there when they had this experience with spirit. So for them to come home and then for me to tell them, what I was seeing and it matched exactly what they
So
saw.
you're 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So your family members have an experience where more than one of them's involved. They come
Right.
home and you tell them what they went through.
I saw him. He came to me after their experience, and I explained, exactly what he looked like. That's exactly what they saw. And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a rarity too. And I've had some people come on the show where their family supported their gifts, and
Hmm.
or they had very liberal or progressive-minded people, open-minded parents, or whatever, the hippies, stuff like that, gypsies and witches, and
Yeah.
you don't hear about it too often. A big part of the stories. seem to be that at some point when they kind of step out, that their family kind of distances themselves and from them and says that they're crazy. Did that happen to you? It didn't sound like
Oh,
it did. Oh, it
absolutely.
did.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. You know, obviously not my mother and my aunt. They've always been very supportive, and I even think that they have some of the same abilities. They just don't experience them, you know, in the way that I do, or as often, or maybe haven't stepped into their power. But yeah, I definitely have had many situations where, you know, that they would just simply say, and I'm not going to name particular family members, but they would say something like, "It scares me, and you know, it makes me nervous, or I'm not comfortable, or I don't understand, or I don't want to understand." And then, of course, we've obviously had the most common one being the Christianity situation, and where,
You've been rebuked a few times.
oh my God, yeah, mm-hmm, just a few. Yeah, and that's tough. It is. It's tough to be in that position. Um,
Well, now was there a point where you said earlier that, the things kind of came on full force and at the same time the comedianship came on as well. Um, was there a certain time that that happened in your life? I mean, did it all happen kind of at the same time?
I don't really see the comedianship any different than just regular mediumship for me. Every show that I do involves some level of, I mean, just downright hilarity, and this comes from, I believe, spirit and their personality that I attract, you know, the quirky, funny, dirty, ornery, you know, they're just gonna
Can
say
you,
stuff
you're going to
that
have to, yeah, I think you're going to have to give us an example.
okay. Oh
No, I
man.
mean, like in the moment, can you just kind of like do 5 minutes of your show? I mean, you do a show, you tour. I saw on your,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, I think it would be better for me to explain a few of them. That's going to give
okay,
you a
yeah.
better idea, honestly. Um, you know, I had one where a husband was coming through for his wife and had brought up the fact that he had been replaced. And this was very, I mean, I got red on stage with this one. And then he went on to say that it was the color purple. Yeah. And so I'm like, you know, this lady's here with her children, and I'm standing there thinking the only way that I'm going to prove to this woman that I have her husband here is by telling the color of her vibrator. And I did it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, there's all kinds of things. It just ornery, you know, dirty things that, and not just that. I mean, these events are just as much moving and, you know, mind-blowing evidentially as they are funny and quirky. So it's not all, you know,
Well,
inappropriate.
I mean, the humor probably makes it easier to receive,
100%.
really.
Yep.
How many times have we laughed and cried at the same time, right?
Yep.
Those moments are just, so pure.
You are so right. Yeah. No, and I also feel like the frequency of laughter, the energetic feeling is so high, and so I feel like that actually helps spirit come through even more, you know, when we're in those moments of freeness and, you know.
So basically, I've never heard of this before. I've never heard of somebody that does essentially stand up, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a different, I'm just saying, it's got this flavor where
Hmm.
you bring in your spiritual gifts,
Hmm.
but also to, in regard to your spiritual gifts, it's very specific in that you tend to bring in the funny side of the supernatural, I guess is how I'd put it.
Exactly. There. they're the ones being funny, in my opinion. They're the ones that are, I mean, everybody has a sense of humor, whether it's incredibly dry and barely there, or every time you get around them, you laugh your butt off. Everybody has a sense of humor. And so that tends to be the personality that I bring through most often.
I mean, you mentioned your family, your mom and your aunt, and, a lot of the stories too over the years on the show, there has been some evidence of the ancestral linkage or lineage, the things that are hereditary that run through the family. Maybe it was the
Hmm.
grandmother was, the gypsy and then the granddaughter. Do you have any specific guides that have shown up, faces of the universe? I know some people do, some people don't,
Yeah.
that, you could talk about.
Absolutely. Um, I don't know if you share this same point of view, but I feel like a lot of times we create, not a lot of times, I just feel like we do. We create the avatar that, we give to our guides. And I have had um, some incredible encounters. One of the most notable ones that I can remember um, most recently was Dolores Cannon coming in as a guide, and it blew my mind. I'd never really been interested. I'm always interested in hypnotherapy, but not as a, something I would teach or do for somebody, just as a personal tool. And so for her to come into my line of sight was really out of nowhere. It kind of blew my mind and went down a whole rabbit hole with her. And yeah, so she stepped in not long ago, and that was really, really interesting. She's funny.
Now, had you had any affinity for her work or anything like that, or she
I
just
hadn't
popped
even
out?
heard of her.
Oh, you hadn't heard of her.
Never even heard of her. No, I had to
Wow,
message
that's wild.
Chantel. I messaged Chantel and I said, have you heard of Dolores Cannon? She's like, Brittany, I'm trained under her.
I
I'm like, oh, okay.
wonder if there was some kind of osmosis there with your relationship and connection with Chantel.
Oh, I
Um,
guarantee it.
so now the experience, the interaction with Dolores Cannon, I've actually heard quite a few people that have encountered her in dimension since she passed, especially like in the last few months. So if I watch a video, I'll see it, or somebody puts a post up. But what was her message? I mean, was there anything specific to what the encounter was about?
She said that I was a part of the third wave, which at the time, because I wasn't familiar with who she was or her work, I didn't understand what she was talking about. Um, she said that I was a part of the third wave and that my job was to awaken. She said that it was very important that I start to use my voice, which was really interesting because she kept talking about how I was suppressing my voice and I wasn't being loud enough and I wasn't being seen enough. Um, and about a 24 hours, 48 hours before this, I had just went and had a um, spot looked at on my throat. Like I had had an ultrasound because there was some issues with my throat. And of course, thank God, ended up being nothing. But how odd is that? That she would come through and say, this issue that you're experiencing is simply because you're not using your voice. That's the whole point. And then it
Mm.
wasn't that long after that you messaged me to do this interview. So it's just really kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah, and so much of what's coming in now that seems to be kind of overriding everything we've experienced is the recent activities or the present activities or happenings or situations or experiences that we're having. I'm calling it a physical synchronicity. They just seem to be clicking together beyond the numbers. Like even with your connection to Chantel and not knowing Dolores Cannon and Chantel's trained under her and you know and, that's some pretty powerful stuff. But, you look at these things individually and they don't really mean anything, but when you start to look back, they all kind of line up, right?
It's beautiful. It's so humbling. You know, you realize that the message about we're all one, we're all, connected. It's so real.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know a big part of Dolores Cannon's work, and even if you look at some of the other QHHT type practitioners that report on the conglomerate of of their work. So it's not one specific client. It's like this is an overall theme that's happening, or they're talking about this at this time. When you do what you do you have like a theme beyond the humor? Is there something else that kind of seems to come in when you're doing your work?
Like,
Like a collective message, or you
oh
can
my
see a
gosh,
trend, or you can feel a
every
trend.
time, every
Yeah.
time. And it almost feels like every show, there's a theme. Even every reading, even, private reading, there is a theme. Um, whether it be forgiveness or, you know, opening up, learning how to go ahead and leap and use your wings, or just some sort of beautiful way that all of these messages and connections come together and intertwine into this beautiful message. And they say that every reading that we do, there's a message for the medium. And I can't tell you how many times I'll get off of a Zoom call with someone and, the message is, you're like, I'll be damned. Ouch. Okay. I hear you.
Is that something they delivered to you privately? You don't share with the client or the audience?
Every once in a while, I will share it, but I try not to make it about me.
Yeah,
And,
of course.
it's hard not to sometimes. And especially in like the awkward or uncomfortable situations, I will bring up a connection that I might have to alleviate how they're feeling, or, how uncomfortable they might be. But for the most part, I just keep it to myself, you
Yeah.
know.
So now I'm getting a better picture. Okay, so because I have friends that are mediums, and I've attended a few different things, and like so one of the standard things I've seen is like you have a bunch of people there, and the medium is got the mic and starts to work through the crowd,
Mhm.
which is really interesting. That's a really interesting thing. But
I
in
actually don't go into the crowd.
You don't. Okay. But
No.
I mean, I didn't mean like go into the crowd. What I
Okay.
meant was
Okay.
like
Yeah.
they'll say, somebody has,
Right.
a man's here and blah, blah, blah. And Betty, oh, okay. So they'll kind of work the crowd, I guess is what I'm
Mhm.
saying.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I'm kind of getting that you do the same thing, but the way your information comes in, it's comical and it's humorous.
It is. It's
And
and a
I
little
guess at
honoring.
sometimes it can get a bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that example that you gave us earlier, is that the most embarrassing moment that you've had on stage?
For me, yes.
Hmm.
Um, I just recently had an event where, I mean, there was probably almost 200, 150, 200 people there, and this family, this dad comes through, and he is just so raunchy is the best way that I know how to describe it. And we are talking about boobs and bottoms and animals doing things they shouldn't, in public. And just it was a to be the uncensored medium. I get tested far more than I want to.
Wow.
And but that's his personality, man. That's who he
You're
is.
Yeah, you're just the cosmic switchboard operator
That's right.
that handles the crazy calls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's interesting.
Hmm.
It gets fun.
And I'm sure, like with some of the things that I witnessed, and you mentioned it earlier, that there's some profound, heavy hearted, deep emotional moments as well.
Yeah, sometimes we it ends up turning into forensic mediumship where I'm, and that ends up sometimes being the theme, which is really heavy. But where we're going from person to person with questionable deaths and getting answers.
No,
You know,
so
this is what happened.
really?
This is what, and confirming exact conversations that they had had on the way to the show. Here's my theory of what happened, and then word for word it comes through spirit, and I get goosebumps just talking about those types of shows. So yeah,
Wow. Wow. Do you ever have like animals come in, or any other type of?
absolutely. Yeah, it was really hard in the beginning when they started coming through, it's hard enough to allow your ego to believe that you can connect with a person in spirit, but then to go to connecting with an animal in spirit, and then also verbally communicating with them. I mean,
Mm.
that is where things get weird. Um, it had a really profound effect on me. In fact, I became vegetarian after that experience. My cat,
Wow.
my cat's going crazy. Sorry.
Yeah. That usually happens on the show.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah. Well, they know what's going on. They know what's going on.
They
And
do.
what about like how would I put this? Maybe energies or entities that maybe weren't relatives or other type of entities or consciousnesses or galactics or elementals or anything. Does that ever come through?
I sometimes wonder if my guides, um, you know, keep me at bay with a lot of that. Although, and they probably do. There's a timeline. Brittany's supposed to open up to other entities at this point in time, or whatever it might be. But really, it's mainly just those two. I have had this one was a weird one, but it shouldn't be weird because I totally believe in it. But a human, a student of mine who came through um, as extraterrestrial. Like that was her past life. So they're telling me she was on a different planet before she came here and she decided to come here, for this reason, this reason. And that was a very interesting moment, to just try to wrap your head around it. And of
Yeah,
course, I do, but
that sounds like a Dolores Cannon episode. I'm sure Chantel's had some like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so since I've been looking into her work and stuff, I've started to see connections um between that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's why I'm supposed to do this."
So did you dive deep into her work after she visited?
I did. Yeah. It's
And
it's
are you caught up on what the waves are? I mean, I know you mentioned the third wave. I know I've heard the first and the second wave, of course, the third wave. But I'm not like I'm not well versed in it. Do you kind of have a beat on that? Like you're a third wave. Who are the third wave? Who's the second wave? Who's the first wave? What are they doing? That kind of thing.
well, she talks about trying to basically create a new Earth, an Earth where an enlightened species lives, an aware, reverent species of humans live. And she says that they had, by they, I guess I'm assuming spirit world, had attempted to send in, or just the universe in general, had attempted to send in the first wave. It wasn't supposed to be the first wave, right? They were supposed to get the job done, but those people, which would be like, gosh, I think people in their 70s and 80s right now.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I feel like I hope I'm not misquoting things, but between their 70s and 80s, they were a part of the first wave. And then the second wave came in, and then the third wave. And she talks about how it's so much easier for us in the third wave than it was for those in the first wave. And I guess it became apparent to them that we're not going to get this done on the first try. We're not even going to get this done on the second try. It's going to take waves of generations opening up to the idea that we're all one and we're connected, and love is the end all and the be all. And yeah, so it took multiple generations, multiple waves to get to where we're at today. And so, the things that we're talking about today, Todd, we could not talk about these things even 20 years ago, to the extent that we are, without people who are nowhere near as educated or even as interested in what we're talking about could hear that and not go, they need to go to an insane asylum.
Well, many of the people that have come on the show have had experience in the psych ward.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know what the exact number is, but I would guess probably close to 50%.
That
Um,
doesn't surprise me one bit
no, no,
because
but yeah, go ahead.
having that like mental and physical breakdown of ego,
Hmm.
what's going to break your ego down more than being put into a mental institution of some sort for a certain period of
Yeah.
time?
It's like the inverse effect. It's like COVID, it had the opposite effect of what they wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think you make a good point too, because if you look at, say the last 2 or 3 years, if you look at posts on social media and what you're talking about, what we're talking about, there's a lot more credibility given to the Dolores Cannons and the Edgar Casey's and and the occult, or whatever you want to call it. These things that have been kind of mislabeled with purpose to keep us off track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a blend coming together. People seem to be more open minded. Now, one of the things that I look at, and like with the people I've talked to, and even looking at Dolores Cannon's work, uh, how how inevitable is this? It seems like with the information that's come in with her and many of the people, for instance, like the people that come on the show, that this is inevitable. This is not something that, oh, Earth's, we got to do this, or it's gonna, this is like a universal realignment or correction. How do you feel about that?
100%. Absolutely. It's unavoidable. And, she said that the new Earth isn't going to be a separate Earth. We're not going to have two of them. It's going to be frequencies. It's going to be two different frequencies. We are vibrating at a very high frequency, and then you have those who are unawake vibrating at a very low frequency. And so that's essentially what creates two Earths, two different planes or dimensions on the same planet.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it, the way it goes, and I think it's starting to happen now, which is
Oh,
weird,
totally. We're
isn't
already
it?
there.
It's weird though, yeah, because it's almost like you have, well, let's see, like an overlay
Hmm.
of the where, say there was an overlay, and then there's another one, another dimension, kind of glitching into this one. So it'd be like those that you connect with, like we'd be them and the others would be you and me. Basically, in other words, they can see us, but we can't see them, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Um,
And I don't just mean that literally. I mean that, like, some people obviously, like you, can connect in certain streams of consciousness. Others, we all have that to some degree or another. They're not all exactly the same, or at least we haven't arrived to that point. But that these folks that would be at the higher frequency, no superiority intended, obviously, that they almost like they're impervious to the lower vibrational field now.
the people who aren't awake
No, the ones that are.
are, yeah, 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 yeah. I had this crazy thing happen that it kind of explains, I think, or plays into what you're saying. I was having dinner with a friend, and I was telling them about how, you know, I feel so often that I'm walking around in a simulation in a video game, and like other people around me that either aren't awake or that I don't know um are NPCs, non-playing characters, I think, or what is that?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, NPC.
Non-playing characters.
Yeah.
And so I was, telling them that this is how I was feeling, and I've just been really experiencing this on a very heavy level. And we left from dinner and we ran to Walmart, and this guy walks past us wearing a shirt that says, "Nothing to see here. I'm just an NPC."
See, you can't make this shift up.
I thought his mouth was going to hit the floor.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable for me, you know. So I know that he had to be freaking out, but it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't.
I actually, I think about a week ago, I was going, we all obviously are going through what we go through individually every day, especially now. Um, and my soul came in. It was like everything. everyone outside of you is a Mr. Smith, from the right, like
Yeah.
not just the NPCs, but actually everything outside of you. It broke it down. He broke it down to people, though. Everyone outside of you is Mr. Smith, and I'm like, okay, okay, like even my closest of the closest, and like, yeah, everyone is a Mr. Smith, and I'm like, okay. So then it was like, what is a Mr. Smith? Well, Mr. Smith, what was his purpose? The Mr. Smiths in that movie. What was the result of their their actions or their force or their energy, and that was for Neo
I
to
know.
refine himself. They
Mm-hmm.
provided the friction so that he would go deeper and deeper within himself. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of funny, and I thought, oh, that was kind of a weird transmission. But now that you bring it up, yeah, who's to say who's an NPC, who's a clone, who's I don't know. I mean, everything outside of us is speaking to us, I guess. And even like that situation, you're having that conversation, and then you walk in a store and see a guy wearing that shirt. That's to me, that's the universe saying, "Bing."
Yeah. Yeah, and it is the universe thing being, and people who are unawake or unaware, they to them, they're like, and we say this all the time, that was weird. I mean, I literally say that all the time. But when I say that was weird, I'm implying that that was perfectly synchronistically aligned. And when they say that was weird, they're like, that was weird. Oh, what a weird coincidence. So yeah, it is totally the universe answering your hypothesis or
Well,
validating
reflecting.
your
It's
feeling.
reflecting. It's reflecting you.
Hmm.
That was your confirmation.
Yeah,
I mean, some people get like, I get tones, and then there'll be other things that'll happen that'll be sequentially synchronistic. Um, Now, one of the things that I've noticed doing the show this year is that I'm not saying everybody, but enough people, a significant number of people have talked about their sensitivities, their higher skills and abilities, and their toolkit or their third eye has expanded. Has that been occurring to you this year?
100%. It's on such a deep level that there are times I mean, I can't explain it. One of the one of the biggest things I've noticed for me personally has been the deep desire to purge. So getting rid of items, getting rid of things. There's something cathartic in getting rid of boxes of things that, oh, I'll use that one day, or I was going to make a project with this, or you know it's unbelievable, and it feels like such a physical need to do that. And so I've probably taken 15, 20 boxes out of this house in the last 2 weeks, and I don't even have that much stuff. But so simplifying life, learning.
Do you feel like there's a connection? Well, obviously there's a metaphorically, that's demonstrating energetically what you're saying, purging.
Physically, yeah.
Some people like me do it through my body, and
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
But do you feel like there's a connection to the more that you're purging uh, in association with, more abilities coming in,
You're
or
right.
what?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know
yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
what you're asking. Yes, I do feel like there is a connection between getting rid of and physically, and allowing more room and focus, attention spiritually. I do feel that, and I do feel like my abilities have picked up. So much so. Like, another thing is the level of empathy that I've been experiencing. I used to be able to watch true crime and love it and enjoy it all the time. Now I can't even watch those shows and enjoy them because I'm so empathically connected to the victim. So, my life just in the last year has changed, developed, evolutionized so much. And I do feel like there's a total connection between, um, abilities being, at the highest volume setting, and, awakening consciously on a deeper level. I do 100%. And ear ringing has been one of the things that I've been experiencing a lot lately. And just the other day, read something about how that's my cat. Sorry. Read something about how I am hearing the sound of the frequency. What was it? The frequency itself. Like you're hearing. I don't remember how it was explained, but
Yeah,
it made,
I've heard it called like the universal frequency.
yes, that's what it
And
was.
yeah, and I know I've experienced a lot of that since about 2014, and I noticed there's different types of tones, and sometimes there's multiple tones.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes it's obviously a masculine, and sometimes it's feminine side.
Yeah, left and right.
Yeah, and yeah, and so I don't. I don't know. To me, and I've heard people talk about this over the years, how this is coming in more and more into our consciousness,
Yeah.
right? And I can remember having, I guess, a past life memory, and it was very vivid, and it was Atlantis, right? And I remember because we had ugly feet. There's the humor. But I was living in this house, this cottage or whatever, with another person, and there was straight telepathy, right? And
Yeah.
you could kind of see like plasma. You know how like when sunlight comes through a window and you can kind of see. So it was kind of like that. And but there was these tones, and I knew the tones were like collective in the sense that they covered the whole region of the city or whatever the case was, right? So I don't know if that's, but it does seem to me that the tones are becoming more and more frequent and sustaining themselves a little bit longer, almost
Yep.
at the point where you almost there's so much they you almost forget they're there.
Yep. Have you heard of the, and I know nothing really about this other than, I'm curious about what little I've heard, the hum, like this whole group of people around the world can hear this constant low hum.
I have I've read about that in a couple of occasions recently. One I remember was more of like a localized thing.
Okay.
But it happened in several places. And then the other was more like what you're talking about, where people hear this. Now, for me, I hear like a cicada, like it's like if you ever go into the woods and you hear that, or it's
Yes.
like you know what I mean? I hear that constantly. But I believe I always have, and I think a lot of these things we have, but as we turned off certain things, we turned off certain things, and like you said, we take on things, and therefore those things that are natural to us get kind of shrouded, and now we're kind of like coming full circle and purging or diminishing the density and bringing in this higher level of illumination and intelligence and abilities. I'm kind of amazed, and I know a lot of us, especially the old timers. I know there's people been around longer than me. My reawakening was 2011, but so a lot of them are tired. God, I'm tired. I'm worn out. But at the same time, I'm especially this year watching things transform so quickly in
Right.
so many ways that is coming through. It's almost like we were raised with this akashic library and had in 17 different languages, and we studied them all, and now we're going through this transformation, and all the literature and all the media communications to us is a whole different language. It's more like the dimensional, like the pictures, the imagery, the intuition, the type of thing. That's what's kind of amazing me right now. It's literally changing the face of life.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's important before we move on from this to say, to anybody listening, that your current transformation or your, because I think we have multiple spiritual awakenings. I think we have levels, right? And, if you're experiencing this, like a lot of us are very intensely right now, the way that you respond to this can be totally different, right? Because there can be some people who, my big thing uh, is like thrifting and loving to decorate and those types of things. Like that's my hobby outside of spirituality. And somebody else may have no interest in that. They've gotten past that a long time ago. They don't care how their house looks. They don't care, that I'm trying to get to that place. So they might be going through something totally different, like empathy. That's something that I've knocked out. I'm already there. But they may now just be walking into Walmart and be overcome with grief or, you know, talking to somebody and get super giddy and excited and they don't understand why. So they're experiencing empathy on a very deep level like they haven't before. So there's like all kinds of different ways that you can be experiencing this height in transformation.
Yeah, yeah,
Here.
and the fact that it's not linear and that everything, in a sense, happens at the same time, and so there's really no that almost erases any way to gauge or appraise our progress with another, and so it almost becomes something that's illusionary to say they're not awake, because there's a yin and yang to everything. But there are certain things that people that people carry, and I guess we'll find out more as time goes on. But one of the things I want to bring back to what you were saying is another thing that I've noticed is, and I can't really say because I haven't thought about it in regard to other people, but I know as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So for me, in the last 2 or 3, 4 months, there's been a lot of, you talked about multiple spiritual awakens, which I totally agree with. Some people might call them walk ins. You could look at it a lot of different ways. But what I've noticed is that over this summer and into even now into November, uh, the way these awakenings are happening, uh, the further awakenings, I'm looking back or being shown the past, you might say, and how everything lined up. So there's more information coming in. It's saying this happened to you at 18, this happened to you at 36, this happened to you at 54. There was a pattern there. Do you remember this? Do you remember this? I mean, like, so it's like a life review,
Hmm.
but the information or the code or intelligence is coming in an embodied way more frequently
Hmm.
and more clearly. And then you get up and do it again the next day, and it starts all over. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's what I was saying about things moving so fast. So yeah,
Yeah, because time doesn't exist. I mean, that's one of the things that Dolores Cannon said. If I remember correctly, it was something like humans are the only species that has found a way to I don't create something that doesn't exist or you know, put into
yeah,
place something that doesn't exist.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's huge.
yeah. Well, we built the greatest control grid in the history of the multiverses here. I mean, I
Yeah.
used to, I used to call it we're like an upside down fishbowl in the far crevice of the multiverse, all by itself, operating
Uh-huh.
on. Yeah. But when you think about that, and you think about the things that Dolores Cannon's talked about, and others talking about the journey of coming to Earth, even if it's for one life,
Hmm.
that it's the toughest. She says, "quote unquote," it's the
Yeah.
toughest school in the universe.
The densest.
So
Yeah, she
yeah,
says it's the densest yeah, densest planet, the hardest place to pick to go. And when she said that, um, that immediately piqued my interest because I was like, there's other places to go. And of course, yes, I know in the back of my mind there's other places to go. This isn't the only place. But to really have that put in front of me and that was, I think, illuminating, and that's one of the things she wanted me to understand. And I
yeah,
think a lot of people too, they begin to feel this huge shift, and they look at it more or feel more like it's depression. I don't know about you, but there are times where it feels lonely, but I could have 100 people around me.
yeah,
It's just like they don't see it from this perspective, or how do I put into words what I'm experiencing? It's not depression, it's you've leveled up.
Yeah, you like hollow out. You just
Yes.
you're almost like empty, and you go, "What the hell?" Like, what's the point? What's happening here? Yeah, I think those are shifts, and I think that's a good point. I
Yeah.
think that's a really good point.
She also mentioned that telepathy, because you touched on telepathy, um, was going to be how we communicate in the future. And I don't know much about Atlantis. I need to do some research on that because it is interesting to me. I don't really understand it, but um, they they communicated telepathically, and so that's what you said. You said it was
Well,
like you
that was my memory of it. Yeah,
right.
I had a couple of a couple of lucid dreams that were they're very real, and both of them it was the same case. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we invented. Think about like we invented all these words.
Well, even like your connections, or anyone that's had encounters with apparitions,
Yeah.
or out of bodies.
Mm-hmm.
My out of body. I remember standing in front of a 12-foot angel. Her lips never moved, but I heard everything. Right. So,
Yep.
really think about it, especially if you think about meditation or, if you want to go through a spirit journey, or even if you go out into nature by yourself and fast or whatever the case is, everything is coming through without words. Yeah.
Right.
It's like the Tower of Babylon thing, right?
Yep. Yep. You throughout this throughout this conversation, there has been a gentleman. There's actually two gentlemen. I say three because I see three, but I'm only connecting with two that have come through in spirit. And one of them, I think maybe Brian or Ryan, is a name that they keep bringing up. And so this could be a connection, like it could be their son, it could be their friend. You two could have this friend in common, those types of things. But they keep bringing up like ace of spades and cards and playing cards and like maybe betting, gambling, that type of thing,
Mm,
and joking about it.
I have to think about that. I have to sit with that. You hit me out of left field here.
I know I did. And he also brought up the month of May. So May would have been like birth date or death date, some connection there. And I think the other one is father. So is your father on the other side?
No, mm-mm. No,
Okay,
he's
so
still
this
here.
would be father's father, so grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime a medium comes through with a straight father figure and father isn't gone, you can almost always guarantee it's going to be father's father. Same thing with mom. Does mom come through? Mom's still here. Mother's mother.
Mm,
You can
mm.
usually, you know, it's
Ryan, month of May. Well, the month of May, I'm born in December. So I always have two power months, and it always one's May. Like I've had so many things happen going back like 15, 20 years, that culminate the last part of May. But the Ryan and the
what
gambling and the cards and the laughing about it, uh, yeah, I had to sit with it. It's funny because I just noticed on Facebook that my high school had its 45th reunion. I've never been to one, and uh, and so I was just like 2 days ago. I'm looking at all these pictures of all these dudes and realizing also the many that have transitioned, right?
hmm
So I'd have to sit down and think about it. But
Another
that's
one, another one was M. So like Tim, Jim, Kim, like it was an I M last part of the name.
wow. I
Yeah.
can, sometimes you have something like on the tip of your mind's tongue, but you can't get it out.
Yeah, it's called psychic amnesia, where you're, and this is what I say. I always tell people at the beginning of shows, 80% of what I say is gonna make sense, 20% isn't. And if it doesn't make sense right now, we're probably going to figure it out before we get off of here. But um, he was bringing up things like New Mexico, which I thought was interesting because you're in Texas. So, well, no, New Mexico is pretty far from there. But
No, Texas is borders New Mexico.
okay, does it? All
Yeah,
right.
borders New Mexico.
Yeah. So, um, bringing up New Mexico, and then what was the other thing that he brought up? It was like I could hear motorcycle in the back of the like a chainsaw or a motorcycle sound in the
Mm,
background. Like it's important to bring that up.
mm.
So yeah.
So that to me, uh, yeah, I would say that um, a lot of, when I reawoke in May of 2011, I chose, a lot of people know I chose to go homeless after about 6 weeks, which I did mostly for about 2 years. And so I was doing Soulogy as directed, just writing words into a Soulogy group with a flip phone, right? And so okay, where am I going with this? Okay, so then I came in off the streets and I started to interact with people, and I went through like this, I think 2013 midway for up to like a year and a half or 2 years, and I kept going through just not randomly but organically meeting different mediums and psychics and working with them. They were obviously bringing theirs to the table, and I was kind of, I guess, getting initiated or whatever, indoctrinated or whatever. So what I found when people would tap in like this, uh, I'm not saying this is what's happening now because I'm still trying to get my arms around it, but that it was kind of a snapshot of where I was at or
Ooh.
where I was headed. And so New Mexico, the two names, I'm looking at several different things, people, right? But they're not disincarnated. They're still here.
Okay.
Um, and I don't, because I don't actually know what my path is, even in the near future.
Hmm.
But it's seems like it's headed that direction. If I'm,
Right.
if I'm having to bet on it today.
So typically that one of the best things that I ever learned as a psychic medium was the difference between being a psychic and the difference between being a medium
Mm,
and the feelings that you feel with that. And usually when I'm psychic, unless I ask for it, mediumship doesn't encounter. Uh, and I have to do that because if I don't, every psychic reading would turn into mediumship.
I see.
You have to set your boundaries. But with mediumship, it almost always encompasses psychic as well.
Yeah,
So you are bringing about all these different elements of you're pulling spirit in, you're pulling their future in, you're pulling what they're currently doing presently in. Spirit is using these things about your past or about what you're presently going through as evidence to prove to you that they're here and they're with you. How I know that I was just connecting with spirit was that I began to enter this very dreamlike state where it got hard for me to focus on what you're saying.
right.
It even got hard for me to talk. So I like am purposely shut up. And it's just like you step outside of yourself and you're now communicating with them. And so one of the first things that I say is, how did you pass? Because that's going to be my answer right there. Am I
Hmm.
communicating with someone who's passed or am I,
Got you.
yeah. And so he had self-transitioned. This guy had it was suicide or it was questions surrounding his passing because that was one of the things that he brought up. And so you can't necessarily connect a Brian or a Tim to someone that's passed. You figure out who it is that is passed that way, and
Hmm.
then later on you'll figure out where the name connects.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling, and I get what you're saying about the difference between psychic and medium because I could see the difference very clearly as I was navigating that couple of years, and I didn't have any training or anything. I guess that was part of what I was doing. I have a feeling that the person, the soul that you're talking about, I'm not aware that they've transitioned.
Oh, I
Okay.
see. So you
So there's
remember them, but don't know if they're still alive or not.
I don't know anyone specifically, but I can just feel it. that that's very likely the situation. And then again, I can see also where there's a connection with a couple of others, um, that maybe that message is coming through, is in regard to, what's going to go down or whatever. Because I have no idea.
Right.
I've lived out of a suitcase for most of the last 15 years, and I feel, and I see a lot of people being relocated right now. I feel kind of a call to that region, but we'll see how that
It
goes.
wouldn't surprise me if somebody that you met on on that journey, especially early, would be coming through.
Yeah,
That wouldn't surprise me a bit. And I don't know if that's who you're thinking, but this does seem in relationship, it seems like he's around your age.
yeah, that's
That's
kind of what I get to. Yeah, yeah.
that's important. And yeah. So, and there's, I mean, he wrote a whole page down here for me. I think that we're reading two different people, and I think one of them you would know and probably already know who I'm talking about, and I think this is Grandpa. And then the other one is this person that you can't put your finger on who this is. But you've also
Mm,
met so many people,
mm.
you know, throughout that process. But the loudest one is this individual that we can't pinpoint.
And he wrote a whole page.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My God,
Yeah. Um, so yeah. Did your dad's dad serve?
no,
Interesting. So then that would be with this guy too, just so you know.
he served.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on a second.
Yep. Yep.
uh, yeah, I'll have to think about this. I have to think about this. Uh, yeah, my gut feeling is I don't know they've transitioned,
Yeah.
and I don't know who I'm talking about. But yeah, and I think it's weird too, like just that thing with the guy with the NPC T-shirt. Where just a day or over the last day or two, I'm looking at these pictures of all these people at the reunion of that I went to school with, which brought in a lot of, it brought in a lot of information and memory, and just different energies, right? That you would expect. And they all looked old, and I don't look that old.
This guy doesn't look that old either, but I
I'm
mean,
just messing with you.
Grandpa does. Grandpa has a lot of he's very sorry.
Yeah.
I'm do not do as I say, not as I do seems to be
Hmm.
a theme here with Grandpa. And
Hmm.
he's just, it's really, really important for him to come forward with an apology for a lack of connection, a lack of empathy, just a lack
Yeah.
of emotional availability.
Yeah. I've run into him before.
Yeah,
When I first reawoke, the first time I ran into him, uh, he there was a group of them. My grandmother was at the front, and then he came from the back with a bunch of roses. And that was his whole, yeah, that was his whole thing. His whole thing, he wanted to apologize. So that rings true. Yeah, no doubt.
and so there must be some connection for you between an apology and flowers, whether it be you bought a
Um,
woman flowers to apologize, or that's just your, like, anytime from here on out that you see
mm,
roses,
yeah.
intuitively know that that has something to do with an apology. Because that's how they create their communication with you is through signs.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool.
It's just
Wow.
overwhelming, isn't it? It's just hard to wrap your mind around it.
I mean, I've been weird for a long time, so I kind of live in this world. I haven't gone through a process like this in quite some time, but I did quite a bit, and I like that you made that distinction between psychic and medium. Not that you can't have both present or whatever the case is, but
Right.
I just remember distinctly working through some mediums, and they were very. And actually, what ended up happening was I was being contacted by mediums, and then they would bring me a message. My wife had my second wife had passed, and that's a questionable. Oh my God, yeah. but she's a woman. But that's a questionable death.
Okay.
Okay. So was it recklessness or was it suicide?
Would she have a son over there? Would you guys have had
No.
would she have like a nephew or a friend or somebody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there was her best friend's son who I was tight with.
There you go.
Uh
That is going to be where
yeah.
your information is.
Yeah. So that yeah, and see he passed 2, 3 years ago. It was again, it was questionable. Was it an OD or was it a premeditated suicide?
That's exactly how this feels too
Hmm.
for the friend's son. Not your wife is not the OD or not for
No.
me.
No, no,
That's
no.
yeah, for the son.
She showed me.
Yeah.
She actually showed me. She had a car wreck,
Yeah.
and anyway, it's. I'm not going to retell it, but I actually watched the whole thing, right?
Mhm.
And so I know it wasn't a suicide. It was like a really emotional moment. Like crying and driving too fast and lost control, right?
Yeah.
But this other, so that yeah, and there is this, yeah. So I'm just kind of connecting the dots here. Um,
I said a minute ago to your guides, I said, please help him connect the dots before we get off of here of who, and then immediately that
yeah,
came.
yeah.
Be-
I'm sure I'll pick up on it. If
You
you've
brought
already
up
acted it,
a tattoo being important, and
a
like you
cat.
have to bring up the tattoo.
Oh, a
So
tattoo.
yeah.
Well, this is crazy. Okay, hang on now. And I'll tell you, a lot of the interactions I haven't had them in a long time. If I had someone on the show, we might do, but not this in depth. But in those early couple of years working with some mediums, most of the messages, not all of them, but most of the messages came from my deceased wife, right? And then what ended up happening was it kind of transferred to me, and I started getting contacted to contact mothers who had
Oh,
lost a child.
yeah.
And I went through about 10 or 12 of those, and I still stay in contact with a couple of them, where the child would come to me and have me deliver a message to the mother. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But anyway, going back to the other thing. God, I lost track of it now.
Tattoo.
Oh, the tattoo. So my wife that transitioned had a beautiful tattoo on her lower back. Not like it was like off to the side. And it was a tribal African rose. So
Interesting.
that's interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Kind of links the whole rose thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And actually, that was her middle name too, Rose. Yeah, and that's something.
Wow.
Physical synchronicities.
What's so weird though is it seems like this young man is well not young man but this son and I'm just going to refer to him as her friend. Her friend um is relaying the messages for her. Uh
For her.
yeah, for her. But I think the reason that he's doing that is like so that you'll believe him so that he can get a message to you to give to somebody else.
I
So it's
see.
like, okay, if he's not going to get this, let's give him somebody that he will know and let's give him information, about her and then we can get back on track so that he can relay this information. And so if you were close with this man, this is a friend of yours, uh this could be another case of you giving a message to that mother.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, it could be actually. Yeah, it's funny too because I haven't stayed in touch with uh, the mother, right? And who was my deceased wife's best friend. And but it was funny because I'll see her every now and then on social media. And it was about a month ago. Uh, and I don't know what possessed me, but I think she put up a post and I just happened to see it. And I don't usually comment on things, but I put like, prayer hands or, hello or miss or whatever. I don't know what I put. And then she wrote me and she said, I was just thinking about you this morning.
And
and
then
there was a
her
uh,
son
uh,
comes through on your show.
yeah, it's very yeah because her son was the same. I had six kids, and the middle group, the five, he was like right in the middle, right? He was like family. They lived with us at one time. Uh, yeah, and there was a lot of psychic connection between those children. That's been pretty obvious.
Hmm.
So interesting, very interesting. I'm gonna have to sit with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to sit with it.
I'll send you a picture of the notes when we get off here so you can try to put it together.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, where are you performing next? Do you perform
I
in
actually have
comedy clubs, or do you go to like hotels and rent a ballroom, or how do you do this?
There's only one uh, comedy theater that I actually perform at. So, we use the term comedian lightly because I only do that like twice a year there. But usually start like the first 20 to 30 minutes are pure comedy, and then we move into the last half hour to 45 minutes of spirit communication. Any other time, it's just funny stuff coming up, you know, at these events that can be anywhere from like I've got a winery, I'm going to Grafton, Illinois this weekend, and another winery in Kirksville, Missouri. So those
Oh,
are the last two of 2025.
nice.
And it just depends where we find ourselves. Sometimes it is a hotel event room. Those are my least favorite to
Mm,
go to just because the energy is so dense.
hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of institutional, like a hospital or a
it
yeah,
is.
and you know what I mean? Yeah, not real soft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, wow. And how can people get in touch with you? Uh, do you have a YouTube website, that type of thing?
I do. I would probably suggest, you can message me on Facebook at the Uncensored Medium, Brittany Buckwalter. Um, my email address is brittanybuckwalterenergy@outlook.com. And website is theuncensoredmedium.com. And then YouTube is Metal Medium because
Met.
I'm a huge metal fan.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
No. And so I play rock and roll and metal before every show. Is if
You
it's a
do.
big show. If it's like a smaller, intimate show, I realized that the energy was kind of awkward to have like, you know, Metallica blaring and we're in like this really pretty quiet area. So we go with something a little softer now
What,
because
like Tool?
yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, we only have to play one song. That's the
Yeah.
whole that's all the music for an hour. Um, but yeah, no. So it's Metal Medium on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Far out.
Yeah.
Well, we have to do this again sometime.
I
And
enjoyed it.
yeah, maybe we have to get Chantel on, the three of us, and
Oh
have a
God.
little chit
Are you
chat.
sure you're ready for that?
I would love to see it. The fact that y'all are best friends, I know there's some polarity there because I know her, and but she's got that. I don't know, how would you say it?
Grounded?
Professional. She's grounded, but at the same time, there you can see that little humor bug in the bottom of her. Like she would
Hmm.
get her laughing. We've had some laughs. Yeah, she's
Oh
very,
man.
very cool. I'm very pleased that we're able to do this, and honored that you could come in and share space with us. I look forward to collaborating with you again down the road if you're up for it.
I am always up for it, absolutely. Because I could talk about this stuff for hours. The thing is finding the people to do it,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I
Well,
feel
this
like,
is where all the weirdos hang out, so
oh
Yeah.
yeah, welcome home.
All right, you take care. Have a
You too,
wonderful
honey.
day, and thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
It was an honor to be here.
Yes.